Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a conversation on performance. Performance is your ability to do a thing and do it well. And we'll be talking about the elements that set you up for success rather than failure for both immediate term performance and long-term performance. I have touched on some of these elements in previous discussions, but in this one I just wanted to flesh out how to set yourself up for the best possible outcomes, the best possible energy, and focus as you're trying to do high skill things such as sports, esports, and maybe even your work stuff as well. I will use the amazing computer technology known as Microsoft Paint to be able to articulate some of these thoughts. So we have performance. You are a human being. You're not a robot. And human beings require a lot of maintenance just to survive. And if you don't focus on taking care of those fundamentals, your performance will suffer even if you might have high skill at something. So just to kind of list out some of the basics, and you know all of these, but it's good to have reminders. What are the basics for physical health? Physical health basics. I'll make this larger so you can actually read it. Boom. Boom. There we go. Physical health basics. We've got sleep. Brain heals and consolidates memory. Sleep is something that a lot of people will say sleep is for the weak, or I don't need to sleep that much. You're basically hindering your own recovery process if you're not getting the rest that your body needs. Also, the body heals and rebuilds muscle while you're asleep. So I've talked to Artosis about just the basics of how can you perform well on a busy schedule. And he said sleep is the best performance enhancing drug. It's not a drug, it's just rest. But that's what gives your body the best opportunity to grow and to rebuild and to memorize things. Throughout the day, there are a lot of things that happen, and your brain has to basically assess what is the most important information for me to remember so I can survive long enough to reproduce, because that's evolution by natural selection, that's survival, but that's not exactly what we're trying to focus on in a modern context. Is anyone here a hunter-gatherer who actually hunts and gathers all of their food? No one is, unless you're in some uncontacted tribe. We have grocery stores, we have computers, we're in the age of technology, which means that we're grappling with some problems that are very important to us personally, but they aren't exactly like fitting in the context of how we became a species. These are new problems. So a lot of these problems aren't going to be ones that our brain immediately recognizes as ones that we want to prioritize, so we need some help with that. And being able to take care of your body is going to set you up for the best possible chance to do that. So you got sleep. We'll say also rebuilds muscle for this, for those who want to make gains. Make some gains. Hydration. This one, I always harp on this, but people forget this all the time. You should be in the habit of having water next to you. We'll say fatigue. We'll say save off fatigue with water near you always. Water is your new favorite beverage. You can have other beverages. That's totally awesome and cool. But if you are not having just direct water, then you're adding a bunch of extra stuff that your body doesn't need. When it comes to the efficiency of taking in calories, it's better to take in your calories through food than through beverages, because your body has more time to digest it. It doesn't hit you all at once. So favoring water over other beverages when you can is going to help you a lot just for your energy levels. A lot of beverages will even dehydrate you. Like say, for example, alcohol. Alcoholic beverages will release what's called antidiuretic hormone, and it's something that basically causes you to retain less water in your body. You have to piss more, and you end up getting dehydrated even though you're taking in a liquid. So water is a good way to offset that. You do need some amount of salt to absorb the water that you're drinking, and you can normally find that from food. But a lot of people are tired or they feel fatigued or low energy because they are dehydrated. So you should have a water bottle that is basically always next to you. It can be a canteen kind of a thing. It can just be a glass of water, but you should always have that as an option. So as soon as you feel thirsty, you just drink some water. And human bodies are pretty good at knowing when they're thirsty. But we do sometimes confuse thirst and hunger, where you feel like you need a little something, and there is water in food. So sometimes people will eat a snack when really they're actually just thirsty. So try drinking water first, and then have food if you feel like you're still hungry after that. Just listen to your body with that. And then another really basic fundamental is movement. Having some basic movement every day is something that we forget a lot, myself included. There are days where I'll have kind of more of a degen stream day where I just get up, have my breakfast, sit down, and I'm just gaming solid the whole time. And maybe I don't do any workout stuff. That does happen. And those days, my body is going to be a lot more sluggish because I'm not giving it the normal exertion that a human body expects. Going back to the hunter-gatherer example, if you want to give your body the best chance that it can, you should put it in contexts that are closer to what it's adapted for. And we are adapted to run around in the world, gather stuff, walk from place to place, maybe hunt stuff. So you've got like skill checks and so on. And if you're just sitting in a chair the whole time, you're basically putting yourself in a jail in a sense. And your mind might know, I'm happy, I'm enjoying life, I'm focusing on what I want to do. But on a like primal physical level, if you're denying your body all movement for the day, there's a part of you that's going to feel kind of like a grumpy, anxious dog that wants to go for a walk, but isn't allowed to do so. So kind of setting that intention, let's just stand up for a second. If you stand up, it helps your circulation and your thermoregulation a lot. Your body is going to be a lot better at just making sure your blood flow is solid. So any breaks you can take where you stand up, whether you have a standing desk or not, just standing up, going to the restroom, getting a little bit of movement, maybe rolling your shoulders, twisting, just any movement is going to increase your flexibility and just your general circulation and focus. It engages a lot more of your system. The mind and the body are completely connected. They are not separate things. So the better you take care of your body, the more successful your mind is going to be. Even if you're working on tasks that are purely intellectual, there is a physical component, and that if your body is thriving more, then your mind will be more energetic, more creative, and more focused. So we'll say stretching, stretch, walk, run, jump, lift, anything. Do anything. Any kind of movement. Physical health. Any other ones that we want to touch on here? Sleep, hydration, movement. We have the stretching. I think this is pretty solid. We'll say diet. Diet is pretty key as well. So take in good calories, balanced diet, fitting proportions, or portions, I guess. So you don't want to overeat. If you overeat, you get lethargic. If you undereat, you get grumpy. So you're trying to basically figure out what is your body composition, what are your goals, and how can you give your body a food intake that is going to make you feel good and also perform well. There are certain foods that they're a treat for you, that you can enjoy them. They're unhealthy, but if you have them sometimes, that's fine. You don't want to take all the fun out of life, right? So if you really like something, like you like cakes or ice cream or something, you don't need to swear off ice cream in the name of performance. You could just say, I allow myself to have ice cream once I've done something of value. So you make it a reward for yourself rather than a mainstay of something that you're slamming every day. If your diet is not good, that's definitely going to slow you down. I have a very straightforward diet. I'm not a particularly like sweet motivated person, so your tastes will adjust over time based on what you expose yourself to. And I think it was when I was about 13 or so, I just stopped really pursuing things like soda and sweets. Not really that much into candy. So for me, most of my diet is just like fresh produce. I have a lot of oats because I have oatmeal every morning. I'm no longer vegan, so I do have animal protein and stuff. But just having less processed foods, stuff that is cooked rather than heated up from the freezer, that kind of thing, is going to be a lot better for you. And I did make a joke video for the subathon that's actually not a joke. Jimothy made an Apple commercial for us talking about how it improves your digestion. And that's a real thing. Fiber is a real thing. A lot of food that you eat that's more on the unhealthy side, like if you're having Korean barbecue or something, that's a lot of meat. That's very heavy on your body. If you have something like an apple, that's basically the opposite food type, where it's very low on the protein, but very high on the fiber. So it helps you digest a lot better. So physical health basics are really important here for just your immediate performance. Going for the mental, let's see the mental health basics. Mental health basics. We got a nice message from Jardozer. Fellow Zerg. You've competed in nothing but physical events for the last 3 years. Sleep and food will truly make you work physically better, mentally better. These two things are number one way to be the best human you can be. Hell yeah. Yeah, with physical stuff, you definitely feel the sleep and the food more so than mental stuff. But I feel like for an intellectual task, sleep is really big. I feel my creativity go down when I'm under-rested, and my performance in games definitely goes way down if I'm under-rested. My awareness of the mini-map, my danger sense. Danger sense is like a really key fundamental in competitive games, because you have to know when your opponents have the chance to hurt you. And if you're under-rested, you're kind of in that lethargic state of you can focus on what you're doing, but it's harder to focus on yourself and the environment if you're low energy. So mental health basics leading into some practice. The most important thing that I like to start with is gratitude. So gratitude is like your mat that you can bounce off of that keeps you positive, even if things don't go your way, even if your performance does not go well. So I like to think about basics like health, social things you're grateful for, grateful for technology in general. It's very cool to be in the technological era. You could say shelter, food, survival, just a lot of the basic things that we take for granted every day. If you just take a few seconds before you get into some performance of being like, I'm grateful for the opportunity to express myself through this activity, then you'll be a lot less pissed when things don't go your way, because you'll be grateful of this huge foundation of what's under you that's allowing you to even do this. I have a stable internet connection. I have a roof over my head. I have a good bill of health. I have people who love and care about me, and there are people who I love and care about as well. I live in a place that is safe from war. I don't have a disease right now. Like, there are all kinds of different things that you can just check off of gratitude that make you a lot more positive going into it. And the way that I've described this with gaming and tilt management is the more gratitude you have, the more armor or a barrier you have before you actually start getting mad. Because if you think about starting a gaming session and you start at it with a kind of neutral stance where you're neither happy nor sad, as soon as something annoying happens, you're already in the negative. If you start with the foundation of gratitude, that's like a bunch of armor that the mean teammates or enemies have to chew through to actually get to you, because you're too grateful for the things in your life to be pissed off at them. So that's your armor, is gratitude. I'm grateful for all of these fundamentals in my life, so when things get stressful, I'm not going to lose my shit because I have this mountain of stuff that I'm grateful for. Another one that's mental health basic here is patience. Patience with yourself. Being patient with your own self-improvement is massive. You have to give yourself permission to attempt something and fail at something and then adjust. So yeah, a lot of people end up falling into the pit of self-loathing because they are a perfectionist. They hold themselves to a very high standard, and as soon as they don't meet that standard, they get very upset. This is not the way. These games that we play, different jobs that people have that are high skill, they involve a lot of practice and training and failure. And if you think about, say, how much I played StarCraft, I have maybe 60,000, 70,000 matches. About half of those are losses. About half. It's a bit less because once you get in GM, you win more than you lose. But before that point, it's basically 50-50, winning and losing. So that's 30,000, 35,000 matches that I've lost. And if you can take the losses gracefully, and you can take a loss as something that is research for yourself, that's data collection, you're going to be way happier just as a gamer in general. Same thing with work. If you're doing something at work and you do something wrong and they talk to you about, this is not how we need to do this, that's feedback that allows you to adjust, and that's improvement. You will fail in life. You will make mistakes. Your mistake recovery is a huge aspect of your ability to perform and improve. So give yourself some permission to make mistakes. Don't hate yourself for your mistakes because everyone makes them. It's your mistake management that can allow you to have an edge in improving faster than people. Another thing that'll really help your performance is patience with others. Mistakes of others. Ooh, this one, I actually had a specific mindset coaching session with a Dota player, Divine Dota player, and he was saying that one of the things that rustles him a lot is stubborn teammates who are not playing well, not listening to feedback, and just being belligerent. And it really gets to him over the course of a session. If he has like multiple games with bad teammates that are kind of throwing the game, not really doing their thing, he gets upset. And my advice to him was to forgive them. Before you even get into the match, you forgive your teammates for the mistakes that they're about to make. I like the quote from like Gladiator, "We who are about to die salute you." We who are about to make silly fuck-ups in a video game salute you. Because everyone in a Dota match below the pro level makes dozens to hundreds of mistakes every game. And if you could just figure out what those are, you'll improve really fast. But at the same token, you have to know that your teammates will also make that many mistakes. Just because they're imperfect. They haven't learned everything about the game. They don't have rock solid mechanics. They're not fully focused. They are flawed human beings just like you. So you go into the match with an attitude of patience toward your teammates. That's my mid, and my mid is going to make at least a couple mistakes. They're going to miss some opportunities. They're going to misclick a spell or 2 or 10, and they're going to not make all the right decisions. And they might even be a little bit grumpy. And if you give them that leeway of, I know you're a flawed person who is going to make some flawed decisions, I forgive you. And I accept that because I'm going to make mistakes as well. And I rely on you to have some patience with me too. So be patient with yourself and be patient with others. Another mental health basic is to use tools for yourself. So you can say, plan your growth, take notes, set intentions. So with planning your growth, this is more of like the performance over time and increasing your growth curve of how well you can improve at stuff. The times when I have the biggest like ramp ups in terms of MMR gain, I kind of break through to the next tier. Those are periods where I'm taking notes diligently and I'm setting intentions for every practice session that I'm in. A lot of times people will just throw themselves at a skill or at a task or at a sport, but they won't know what their emphasis is. And that's always my first question whenever someone says, I'm on a really big downswing. And it's like, okay, what are you working on? Like, what's your practice emphasis? And basically every time they don't have one. They're like, I don't know. I don't know. And that's when downswings feel really bad, because you're playing the game purely for the results of the win or the loss, but you're not playing the game for your relative mastery of the character or the faction that you're playing. Because if you were, say, working on your creep spread, if you're a Zerg, if you lose, but you spread creep, you still gained. You still learned. You still practiced. And you can take notes on, okay, this is why I lost the match, but I still gained because I got experience in what I'm doing. So taking notes is not hard to do, but getting yourself motivated to develop the practice can be pretty hard to do. I recommend Google Docs. It's really easy. Saves it online, so you don't have to have paper and stuff, but I do like the tactile feedback of pencil and paper notes sometimes. But taking notes and setting intentions also is a huge element of tilt relief. Whenever you're losing a match and you feel like, man, I just feel like this is so unfair, it's just so easy for them and so difficult for me, or my teammates are so bad, blah, blah, blah. I challenge you in those moments to look at the replay and look hard at your own mistakes. I had a session like that in Dota where I think I lost like 6 games in a row. And I was like, man, I'm just not getting good teams today. Like, this is just really hard games. And I was like, I'll just look at some of the replays. I'll look at a couple of them just to see what I could have done better. And within the first 3 minutes, I was pretty upset with myself at how bad I was playing. I was looking at it and I was like, wow, I have regen in my inventory and I'm hurt and I'm not using it. I'm still just trying to blast, hit, and survive and do stuff, and then I get killed. And that was on me, because I could have stayed topped off. I could have been more diligent about playing my own character. So I didn't need to blame shift to my support and be like, yeah, I have another bad support this game. I could have been doing my stuff better. So replay analysis, when you're not steering the game, you're not steering the character, but you're looking at it after the fact, that's really, really big for tilt relief and really big with getting good notes. Because in the moment, a lot of times you feel the most emotionally salient aspect of what's going on. You don't actually find the logically correct reason why you're messed up or why you're behind, whatever. But in a replay, you don't have to be clicking the mouse and tapping the keys and so on. You can just see what was happening. You can pause, you can rewind. You can get a lot of that really good information. Within StarCraft, you've also got stuff like the build order lists where you can see what their build was. You can look at the graphs. There are lots of resources that you can check as you're going. And all of those give you tilt relief, big time. How do you balance getting enough reps with the note taking? I don't take notes on every match of every game that I play. It does take more effort to take notes. So it's sort of like, how hard do you want to try today? And this kind of leads into the next point, is manage your expectations. Check your condition. This is basically, you want to figure out, how well do I think I'm going to perform today based on how well I've checked off these physical health basics. A lot of people get upset because they expect to play their A game, but they're actually set up to play their C game that day. But they don't realize it because they're not honest with themselves, or they don't understand what causes C game play to happen. And I define this as, your A game is your 15% best of what you can physically do. Your C game is the 15% worst of what you can do at that time. And then the middle 70% is your B game. It's just kind of your regular mode of operation. But say you had 5 hours of sleep, you're dehydrated, you've been just sitting around all day, and you had an unhealthy meal. You're not setting yourself up to perform well. So whenever you're going into practice, you should expect to make some more mistakes. You should expect to be less focused. And you can basically adapt your practice to that fact. You don't have to be like, well, I feel bad, but I'm just going to force myself to play anyway. You could do something else with your energy, or you could just manage your expectations and say, okay, I'm going to practice. I'm still getting in reps. I'm still getting in experience, even though I know this isn't going to be my very best. So I might expect a little downswing, but I know that that's because of circumstances outside of the game, because I'm not in my best condition, but that's fine. There was a psychologist named Jared Tendler, and he's done a lot of work with poker players and even some Dota players, I think, talking about mindset and tilt management and so on. And one of the things that he's really good at mentioning is injecting logic into emotionally salient situations. So if you feel a certain way about it, just try to list some facts about what went down or things that you're supposed to do about that, and get into that habit of, as soon as you feel a big spike of emotion regarding something, just list out a fact of what's going on, and that'll help you kind of organize your perspective in a way that doesn't let you fall off the cliff of tilt and get really upset. I highly recommend his stuff. He has a book called The Mental Game of Poker, which has a lot of types of tilt that are directly relevant to other games that are not just poker. Dealing with variance is something that's very hard for humans to do emotionally. And variance is just fluctuations in luck, you could say. Luck is sometimes in your favor, other times it's not. And your ability to manage those swings is huge in both your enjoyment, your mental health, and then also your results. So you should expect laddering and like doing ranked mode in Dota and stuff as a roller coaster, where sometimes things are going to be in your favor and you're going to be climbing. Other times things are going to not be in favor and you're going to be dropping a little bit. But the idea is you want to salvage whatever training and value you can from the downswings and really try to play your best on the upswings as well. But know that an upswing follows a downswing and a downswing follows an upswing. So you shouldn't be surprised. People are so like surprised Pikachu face at their downswings when if you just organize your own like progression, you would notice that in your match history, you do have some swings of losses and you have some swings of wins, and that happens. That's normal. So you don't need to be surprised by that. You should be able to ask the question, why am I being knocked down? One of the ones that sticks out to me in a kind of distant memory at this point, it was probably about 7 years ago, and I was playing a bunch of Zerg, and I had a really bad ladder session, like really, really bad, and I probably tanked like 200 MMR or something, and it was that same kind of thing where I thought that I just had bad luck, or maybe people were stream sniping off of me. I don't know, like I just couldn't understand why I was losing so much, even against players who I would normally beat. And I opened up a few of the replays, and in the replays, my injects were garb. They were garbo. They're so bad. My third base is just sitting there, not injected for like 3 minutes, and I have 5 queens. And I'm like, wow, it's me. It's a me problem. And I can just focus on this fundamental, and then my mood basically just flipped on a dime from being frustrated to being invigorated and excited, because then I had a clear intention. So this is another really important mental health basic. Set an intention. Know what you are training today. This is kind of similar to gratitude in the sense that setting an intention gives you a buffer of armor against tilt, because you know what your purpose is. You know what your goal is. And if that goal is based on you, then other people's opinions don't matter. So you're basically immune to their hassling because you know what your plan is. Set an intention. It also means that you can establish ways that you gain value from your practice without needing to necessarily win. Obviously, you want to try your best to win. That's kind of a given. But a loss can be even more instructive and even more crucial and fundamental to your growth as a player. And one of the graph things that I love to look at in Dota is the win percent chance of each team, and how there are a lot of games, maybe half of your wins, I don't know the actual statistic, where your team is very, very far behind and you have maybe less than 20% chance to win, but then you end up winning. Those moments are really important to remember. Really, really important to remember, because you will find yourself in those situations again. And it feels kind of disgusting to be really far behind, to feel like you can't do anything. You can't do anything on the map. There's no space. We don't have the ability to get aggressive. We're kind of stuck. But sometimes the opponents blunder into you and you take a good defensive fight and then you catch up and then you win. And you need to remember those games. That's really, really important. So we'll say, remember your successes. Confidence is built on experience. True confidence, the true ability for you to believe in yourself, is based on you meeting a challenge in the past and succeeding. And you won't succeed at challenges if you don't take challenges. And this is a huge part of why laddering and achieving a rank in a game can be really good for your confidence. Because these are really complex, high-skill games. So if you put yourself in front of one of the most difficult video games of all time and you rise through the ranks, that shows a lot of what you're capable of. That shows you can face a complex problem, you can develop a plan, you can develop your mechanics, you can develop a set of knowledge and responses, and you can succeed. And I firmly believe that anyone who has laddered in 1v1 StarCraft and like ranked themselves anywhere, even in bronze, you are already a very strong gamer, because you're putting yourself in front of a very difficult task. These are not easy games. These are some of the very hardest. So to just kind of know about yourself, say for example, I've got to Diamond in StarCraft. That's huge if you've got to Diamond. And there are a lot of people on Reddit or in Twitch chats who will be like, oh, that's still shit, blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's honestly not. If you put a Diamond StarCraft player and you're watching them game next to people playing other easier video games, Diamond StarCraft is fast as fuck. And it's very cool. So respect your peers. That's another thing that I would say is a really key mental health basic that people don't have because they resent their peers. Respect your peers. They share your hobby and allow you to compete. If your peers in these games did not exist, you would not have matches. I played Warcraft 3 2 days ago. Well, I didn't actually get to play it because I was in the queue for 15 minutes and didn't get a game. And it was maybe an off time of the day or whatever. But it made me think, wow, how glorious and great is it when there's someone who is approximately at your level who also wants to fight in that game right now. And this is a big part of why StarCraft 2 is still the RTS king. It's still king after all these years and all the other games that are being developed, because you get fast games. The game is completely polished. It's not perfectly balanced, but it's pretty close. And there are people who are actively queuing. And you only need one other person for a StarCraft match. But yeah, that's something that a lot of people forget, is you need to respect your peers because they're the people who allow you to even do this in the first place. Sure, maybe you hate Dota gamers, but you're a Dota gamer. And if they weren't queuing, you wouldn't have a match. And you'd have to play something else. So be grateful. Be grateful for them. Be patient with them. Understand that your peers will also sometimes not give you the same respect, but that's based on ignorance. It's ignorance on their part. If they actually knew what was going on around them, they would know that you have the same passion for that competitive esport. They would also know that you're like fundamental to the process of enjoying a match. If you have no players, then you have no enjoyment of the match because it's a dead game. So respect your peers, even if they don't respect you. It'll give you a lot of peace of mind and a lot more kind of gratitude for the scene that you're in. So We've talked about mental health and physical health basics. I wanted to talk a little bit about focus and morale management, kind of like an immediate session of we're trying to perform now. We've taken all of these things under due advisement, and I'm in it, and I'm about to like get some practice in. So we'll say immediate performance. Oops. What size is this? Performance. Tips and tricks. Let's look at some tips and tricks. What are some ways that we can, in the moment, be successful if you're really trying to min-max your growth? Let's say, is this a color that's legible? This is the same. It's the same. Okay. Some of these are kind of random, but I'll explain why they work. Splash water on face. This became a meme in the Dota scene because there's a Dota coach who is insisting that one of his players go splash water on his face. This is called the mammalian dive reflex. We are land animals, and when a land animal goes in the water, there's a high chance that it can die compared to being on land. So your body gets a little burst of adrenaline and energy just from having cold water splash on your face because it activates your awareness of, oh crap, we need to survive. We need to survive this. We are in the water. I am not a water animal. I need to breathe air above ground. So splashing water on your face is a really good like hack to be able to boost your focus and your energy. If you're under-rested, this is a nice little trick. Requires no drugs, no supplements. It's purely your body's response to an environmental cue. Another thing is getting fresh air. Get fresh air and walk. This one is widely considered to be, I think, the best energy investment per result for performing well mentally and physically. Say 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes. Fresh air and walk is enormous for your ability to get focused. You do a lot of things when you walk that don't seem like they're that important, but they actually matter a lot. You engage all of your joints as you're walking. You get really good circulation. You get to put yourself in a different environment, which kind of mixes up your day and makes you feel refreshed, gives you some stimulation. And you get thermoregulated better by standing as opposed to sitting. So your body's better at cooling itself if you're standing up. And you really just get some time away from your normal distractions. And that's maybe the biggest one on the mental side. So it's got physical benefits of your engaging your body, and then you have the mental benefits of your getting away from whatever your tasks and your challenges are to be able to process what your next steps are going to be. A lot of my best thinking that I do is when I'm outside, not looking at a screen. I'm out in the forest, I'm going for a walk or going for a run, I'm looking at like the distance and nature and all of that, and I'm thinking about my next moves. It's a lot harder to think about your next moves when you're actively browsing memes, just because it's occupying stuff in your thinking space. And there's so much stimulation now on the internet. You can scroll indefinitely on any platform, and you basically never run out of stuff. So getting some fresh air and going for a walk is a really good way to kind of get back to the core of, what do I want to do? What are my goals? What are my ambitions and aspirations? And how can I make a plan to move toward achieving those things? Another one is do a set of exercise. Push-ups, squat, plank, whatever. Anything like this is going to be really good at refocusing yourself. I advise any of these things as well. It doesn't need to be before you start your practice. You could take a break in your session and do this as well, just to kind of break up the rhythm. Rage queuing is a thing. Is there anyone who knows that they've done that? I think everyone has it at some point, if you don't have ladder anxiety, where you finish a match and then you're immediately spamming the play again button right as soon as it's done, because you want to kind of get a fresh match that's going to be better than the last one. but you haven't processed the last one. And then you get into that match that you rage queued into, and for the first 5 minutes, you're still pissy about what happened in the last one. You're not present in the moment. You're not focused on what's happening right now. So, yeah, take a few minutes, especially if you have a long game. I think it's a must. If you play an hour plus Dota game, you should take like a 2 to 5 minute break minimum, just to kind of give yourself a break. But yeah, the rage queue is very strong because it gives you a fresh chance for a better game. But you basically deny yourself the opportunity to learn from why you lost that match. You just assume you know why you lost based on the most emotionally salient thing that happened in the match, rather than the technical reasons why you made mistakes and what you can focus on to improve. So let's do another one here. Remove distractions. So, this is kind of like managing your environment. So, sounds, sights that are not useful. Examples of this would be, does anyone here have multiple monitors? If you have multiple monitors and you have a game on one monitor, what's on the other monitor can make you perform worse if it's just distracting. If there's movement on the other monitor, or it's just basically pulling your attention in some way, that's going to cause you to perform worse. It's cool having multiple monitors. It's very cool. But if you want to min-max your performance, you want to make sure that you're not being pulled away to something that is not helping you perform your best. Sounds as well. There are certain genres of music, for me, I would say, that are annoying to listen to while I'm trying to game or whatever. It doesn't set the right mood. And if you're really, really wanting to min-max perfectly, you might not even use music at all. Sometimes silence gives you a better thinking space to be able to kind of just spring from your own intuition rather than kind of singing along with the music in your head. So a big part of performing well is understanding what is distracting you in the moment. And sometimes, say you can't remove distractions. So you have people who are over or something like that, or you need to watch an animal or watch someone's kid or something like that. If you have a task that is preventing you from full focus, you might just take a pass on trying to do your focused thing and just focus on something else. If you want to really have good quality practice, you want to set yourself up where the environment for practice is also good. Unless you're trying to practice dealing with a bad environment, which does have a little bit of bearing when it comes to, like, say you're preparing for tournaments, and in tournaments some weird things happen, something will be fucked up, or something is noisier than you expect. So being able to prepare for those is valid. But for basic day-to-day practice, just managing your distractions and making sure that you're not getting too busy with other things. This is a good point to remind people: do not text while you're driving. Texting is something that requires your attention to be off the road and on your phone, and that is a huge danger to people around you. You can always text them back after. If they have to wait for a little bit, it's a totally valid reason for you to not reply because you were driving. So texting while driving is bad. So is like tabbing out and messaging during the middle of a match. I know a lot of people are kind of lackadaisical with their Dota games. Like, some people are really not trying that hard. Maybe they have a movie on their other monitor, who heckin' knows. But distractions will really pull down your max performance because there are so many things happening in a game, like StarCraft or Dota, where you can't even keep track of everything, even fully focused. There are multiple places on the map where things are happening. You're also trying to manage your own mechanics. And if you add distractions outside of that, you're really not going to be performing your best. Another performance tip and trick is find healthy avenues to vent. Let go of your hate by telling someone about what happened. This one is pretty nice. Everyone needs to vent. You shouldn't be alone with your problems. If you had a really, really bad teammate and you want to tell someone about that, and that person is willing to listen to you, I highly advise that. Anger happens. Frustration happens. And if you grip onto that and hold on to it, then it has a hold on you and it's taking up mental real estate. So for a lot of people, when they deal with stress or trauma or something like that, it's really valuable to just have someone else hear you out. They don't necessarily need to fix the problem for you. They don't need to give advice necessarily, but just being heard and seen is really, really, really good. So I want to give a shout out to chat for letting me vent as a streamer. As stuff is happening, I get to just kind of mouth off and point out like the stuff that was annoying to me, and I feel heard by chat whenever people see stuff and they react to what I'm going through. Yeah, it makes you feel seen and not alone. So venting is really good for making sure you don't hang on to that anger. And I have talked a little bit about residual tilt, which is the process of accruing a little bit more and more tilt throughout the course of a session because you're not letting go of that. So tilt management isn't just about how you respond to stuff. It's how you release the anger that's been building up inside of you, where you're not carrying that into the next match, if you can. But remember, anger is a normal emotion. It's a healthy emotion, but it's one that you have to manage so you don't lose your shit. Any other performance tips and tricks I'm thinking of for performance? Ooh, this is a big one. Breathing. Check your breathing pattern as you game. Try to keep it steady and full. This one I've noticed for a lot of new StarCraft players especially. They'll start to kind of like hyperventilate because they know that the game that they're playing is super fast paced and they need to be go, go, go. They need to do stuff, but they don't know what they need to do. And it's super stressful. Someone's attacking them too, and they're kind of, they're not breathing. They'll like hold their breath, or they'll have really shallow breaths. Something that I'll do is I'll find opportunities to just like front load some deep breathing as I'm starting a match. So if I'm getting my hatch first, I set up my camera locations. After that, I'll take a deep breath. Kind of like before you're about to dive into water, you take a deep breath. Anytime like that where you can get a nice, full, slow breath, that makes you a lot more calm. And it was really cool seeing in the last EWC the top StarCraft players in the world competing with each other with a heart rate monitor. And it was showing the heart rate of these pro gamers. And the guy who won it all, Cyril, our boy from Finland, he had the lowest heart rate of anyone that I saw when he was playing. And this is the highest skill 1v1 game in the world, the highest stress. And he's calmer than his opponents. He is very good at managing his body's response to stuff. He has plans. He has plans within plans. He has plans for how to deal with the most annoying stuff that his opponents can do. So he is not surprised. And he's probably breathing well and maintaining homeostasis because his results show that his heart rate is very healthy and relaxed for someone who's playing a very high stress, high speed esport game. So don't forget to breathe. Don't forget. Before you start getting into stress. The more stressed you get, the harder it is to manage yourself. So if you start out with a lot of these good intentions, it's a lot harder for you to fall off the cliff of insane monkey tilt. Ooh, another huge one. Huge one. I'm so glad I didn't forget this. Posture. Sitting up straight with both feet on the floor is very, very strong. I noticed this, I think it was 2 days ago. I was laddering and I got an opponent who was higher MMR than me, and I instinctively, not even like thinking of the verbiage of this, I instinctively went from sitting like this to sitting like this. I got up. My back is straight. My shoulders are back. My forearms are on the desk. My feet are on the floor. And I'm getting ready to fight. Because I want my body to be set up for the most ergonomic, the most focused and attentive play that I can. If you're slouching, you're not giving yourself the best chance that you can. Don't slouch. And it does take some core strength to make sure you have good posture. And I don't have good posture all the time. But the more you can be mindful of it and practice it, the more you set that intention and that energy of self-control. I'm controlling myself in a way that's keeping myself healthy, keeping myself focused, and giving myself the best opportunity to succeed. How would you rate your posture on average, chat? Where 10 is like you have perfect posture all the time, and 1 is you're slooped in some way all the time. Off the cuff. I think mine is relatively high. I did have a relationship for a few years where she got on my case about posture pretty often, but that helped me, so I'm grateful for that. No one has listed their posture above a 5. Interesting. Well, I challenge you when you start a session, if you gave yourself below a 5, if you're going to game for a little bit, at least for the first match, try to make your goal to have good posture. And your posture will cave at some point. Like, you can't have perfect posture forever. It does require some muscle engagement to have good posture, but it's good for your spine health. It's good for your circulation, and also just for your kind of energy and focus. You feel more ready to attack. You feel more ready to take the initiative. You feel more aggressive. You feel more dominant if you're having a good posture, because you have control of yourself. And if you have control of yourself, you have greater control of the situation, which means you can take a victory. You're solid 2 on a good day. Yeah, well, work on your posture when you walk as well. I mentioned taking a 10 to 15 minute walk. Make sure you have your shoulders back. Problem is that perfect posture does not exist. Yeah, I'm speaking in kind of a more casual sense than that. I'm not saying that there's a perfect posture, but there are certainly postures that are better than others. I don't think you can deny that. Staying stiff in the exact same position for prolonged periods, that's harmful. Yeah, well, that goes back to the go for a walk, do some stretches, do some exercises. There are ways that you can take command of yourself. Cool. Well, let's kind of go through everything once over, just to give us a short version of this. If you want to perform well, you need to take care of your physical health, sleep well, hydrate yourself, get some movement every day, and then have a balanced diet. For your mental health, start with the foundation of gratitude every day. Be patient with yourself and others. Plan your growth with notes and intentions. Manage your expectations by understanding how well you're going to perform based on your condition. Set an intention for what you're training that day. Remember your successes so you can build confidence. Respect your peers because they allow you to compete. And the tips and tricks that I recommended, splashing water on your face is a good way to wake up and get focused on a dime. Get some fresh air and walk. Do a set of exercise. I kind of mix up my exercise throughout the day. I know a lot of people go to the gym, so they have like one big block of exercise. That's fine. But I like splitting it up throughout the day and just working out at home. Remove distractions that are going to make you perform worse. Find healthy avenues to vent so you can have kind of a pressure release valve for your anger. Be mindful of your breathing as you're practicing, and be mindful of your posture, because that's going to be really big for your health and your focus. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Brain Science for Beginners on Performance. If you have any other thoughts on this, feel free to leave a YouTube comment. Thank you all for supporting the Neuro Subathon Fall 2025. Boom. This is another one.